Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. It might take me a second or two to figure out exactly how we want to do this. Normally, I, of course, would have my light on, but in this circumstance, I have a super bad migraine and I don't want to turn the light on. So I've got a couple of like supplementary lights around that I'm hoping will help. I need to We're just going to need to do a little bit of rearranging, so bear with me for 1 minute. Okay. Um, a lot to do. So, we are going to be spinning all of these. Or at least we're going to spin as many of them as we possibly can, which is probably not all of them, if I'm being perfectly honest, because that's a lot. And the other bobbin did take me a good 2.5 hours. It's kind of hard to tell exactly how much, because I was, stopping to card punis and stuff in the middle. But yeah, we're gonna do as many as we can, and I'm gonna get as drunk as I can, and we're gonna see how that goes. Cotton spinning while drunk, it is what it is. We'll see. I care a little bit more about getting this done than I do getting it moving. And additionally, damn it, I never know if you guys can hear the traffic or not. Additionally, this is going to be part of a 3-ply, which means having 1 ply be a little crappy is okay. It won't ruin the yarn. It'll affect it, but it won't ruin it. So I think it's okay. So yeah, I'm going to be drinking. I have a couple of drinks actually wrapped up in a wool blanket with an ice pack because I don't have a cooler. But yeah, I'm going to wait for like 3 minutes to tick over or 5 minutes or something, so you have a good starting point so I can easily tell how long it takes me to spin this stuff. But a few things. One is, so this beautiful, lovely bobbin full of cotton that I've been spinning over the last couple of streams, this weighs 40 grams, not counting the bobbin, just the stuff on it, 40 grams. This pile of punis that we carded yesterday is 47 grams. So it's actually, we're not going to spin all of these simply because they won't all fit on one bobbin, which is very cool. Yeah, so this is 32 different punis that I carded yesterday on stream, and we are going to spin as many as possible. I'm kind of shocked that this is only 40 grams. It means that the finished thing is only going to be like 120 grams, which is really not that much. 28 grams being 1 ounce if you use ounces. So that is about 4 ounces for what should be a large amount of cotton, to be honest. So it's really very light. I guess because I'm rolling these so lightly is my guess. Like, I'm not putting a lot of tension in, so they're a lot more woolen than they are worsted, even though they're technically cotton. Okay, we've hit 4 minutes. That first minute is always just going to be me fiddling around a little bit so that I can get these going. And these aren't necessarily the best punis. I mean, they might be the best that I've made because I get measurably better each time because I started so bad. But that said, I was going pretty fast. I wasn't necessarily taking care with them. These are just sort of fast and loose, did what I could. Yeah. So let me just pre-draft out enough to get going and get it on the bobbin, and then I think at the 5 minute. Oh, we're already at 4:50. Okay, fine, fair enough. We'll just get going as quick as we can then. So we'll say I started at 5 minutes. Because I do think, I mean, this is part of spinning it. So, oh, one other thing, we are moving it. Wow, it was already on the smallest whorl. Okay, I was gonna say we're moving it to the smallest whorl. It's on the smallest whorl, which means I must have switched it at some point during spinning the other one, which I don't love. I don't know when I did that. That's unfortunate. But yeah, we're going to be doing this on the smallest whorl, which I believe has a ratio of 17, if I remember correctly. Meaning for every, god damn it, for every 17, no, for every one revolution of this big wheel, the main one, we get 17 of the flyer. And then I believe the middle whorl is only 14 and the smallest is 9, if I remember correctly. It's been a while since I looked at that. But yeah, so this is going to add not a whole lot more, but definitely a bit more twist. And actually, we need to add more just to tie it on. Hang on. Just, there we go. That ought to do it. I don't really enjoy when the first section is super lightly spun, because then it makes it really hard to tie it, and you have to kind of break into the good yarn that has adequate twist when you're doing the ties at the end. Or at least that's how I do it, is I always use the ends of the skein, which are kind of, not really usable anyway, like to knit with or whatever. I use those to tie it up and secure it for washing and everything like that. Oh, Chuck, she's looking at me so sadly. All right, 7 minutes when we actually start spinning. Now, the main thing with this blanket is we're going for done. We're not going for perfect. For me personally, perfect is the enemy of done. If I want it perfect, it will never happen. Or rather, I'll spend a huge amount of time on it and then never finish it because it won't ever actually be perfect. Because I'm an imperfect human being and not really capable of making something perfect anyway. So it needs more attention. So if this, is lumpy, that's okay. If it becomes a very lumpy skein of yarn, that's also okay. We just want it to be done. I will probably also take a little bit of time before I am relaxed and feeling okay, I guess. I don't know. I took some migraine meds, which are incredibly hit or miss, so we'll see on that. But I did also have a terrible day at work. So I'm very glad I do not have work tomorrow. That's for sure. But yeah, if it takes me a minute or two to really, well, a minute or two, it's going to be longer than that. It takes me a few minutes to warm up. Forgive me. Just came off a very long day. I did have some exciting mail come in. I got some earrings. So I have both of my earlobes pierced and nothing else, and then a lot of tattoos. But those are my only 2 piercings. And when I first got them, like once I was able to, take the studs out and everything, when I first got them, I just wore dangly earrings. And I do love dangly earrings, to be fair. But one, I lost them a lot. And 2, they did have qualities that I did not enjoy. Like the fact that the dangly parts would kind of touch my neck or the side of my head randomly. I did not enjoy that. And I thought I'd get used to it, but I never did. And then additionally, people kept thinking I was a girl when I was wearing them, which I also really did not enjoy. So due to that, I stopped wearing the dangly ones pretty quickly after like maybe a year or two I stopped wearing them, and I switched just to these gold hoops that I bought, or gold rings, I guess. They're not really wide enough to be hoops. Um, just these small little gold rings. And I was just kind of buying what I saw. I didn't really know much about gauge or anything like that, and I got 20 gauge, which I don't know how much the like how wide the typical just sort of earring wire is, but it's definitely thinner than that. I think probably like a lot thinner, like maybe 30 or 40 gauge. But I got these 20 gauge gold hoops and I forced them in. It wasn't actually that difficult, to be honest. That was a couple years ago now. And I've just been wearing them ever since. And I quite like them. But one of my coworkers has these really cool, like thick gold ring earrings. And they also have like, I think 00 gauges is what it's called, I think. Um, they have that. And then, sometimes they'll just wear those gold ones that sort of hang in the earlobe section. And I really like how that looks. And another one of my coworkers has a similar thing, except he doesn't, his aren't as big and he wears like a couple of rings in there instead of just one big one. And hers is like that too. So I decided, you know, I'll just size up a little. I'll see what happens. I didn't want to do those cone shaped thingies. I don't know what those are called, but I didn't want to do that. Because it kind of, one, they're expensive, and two, I don't like how they look, and I didn't want to sleep with them in. I didn't know how to use them. And additionally, with Ehlers-Danlos, my skin is very stretchy. So I was pretty sure I could just get something somewhat thicker in without really any problems, right? So I got from a 20 gauge, which is what I started with, I went to 16 gauge. They just arrived in the mail today. And I put them in. I was like, as I was taking them out of the packaging and everything, I was like, okay, is this going to be a struggle? Am I going to have to wait for a couple of days and like kind of pull on and stretch the holes or something like that? I don't know. But no, they went in with literally no resistance whatsoever. So now I have these nice 16 gauge earrings that are functionally kind of identical. One of them has spikes, and I really like how it looks visually, but it's not much thicker. So now, like less than an hour after putting my brand new 16 gauge earrings in, I'm kind of like, well, 14 gauge, 12 gauge, 10 gauge. I don't know. I don't know how quickly my ears stretch. I haven't really tried it. And also, if I buy one that's too big, I could always save it for later. So, yeah, I was in the middle of getting back on Etsy and looking for more slightly larger hoops. Or I keep calling them hoops, they're rings. Slightly larger rings. And I kind of think I am going to buy some 14, some 12, and some 10 gauge and just see what happens. My mom would be horrified, but she was horrified by all the tattoos, but she lived. She didn't die of shock and horror. She got over it. So I think it's probably fine. But yeah, I was in the middle of that, and then a member of my union called because I have been complaining to the union about some issues at my workplace. So yeah, that's why I'm late to the stream. Is I had the legitimate reason of I was talking to a union rep, explaining my woes as one does to my union rep. I'm really fucking hopeful we can get that shit sorted soon because, oh my god, it's so bad. It makes the workplace so much worse than it already is, and it's already very bad. yeah. So I'm hopeful, and I'm also hopeful that if I get some more earrings, maybe I could really stretch them out. The only thing is, I noticed, like, typically the rings that I wear, they're pretty wide. I think they're like 16 millimeters wide or something like that. And you can't necessarily tell with those ones, but with these ones, one of the pairs is only 10 millimeters wide, so it's quite small. And you can very easily see that one of my piercings is quite a bit higher up than the other, which is frustrating. But I don't think anybody is really going to look that much. I'm probably the only one who will particularly notice. And also, being in a wheelchair, especially being in a power wheelchair, it becomes difficult to give a single shit what people think about like your physical appearance, because everybody is so negative simply because of the wheelchair, which is not something I have any control over. It has to be there, or I can't be there. So, yeah, I have. It's funny, just like 5 or 6 years ago, I would have been pretty mortified to realize that, and I might have just let them close up entirely and try again. But being in the wheelchair, I'm like, oh my God, who cares? If they're looking at my shitty piercings instead of my wheelchair, that's kind of a win, actually. I mean, not a win necessarily. It's not like I don't care if people look at my chair. It's just people make a lot of assumptions about me based on the wheelchair. And none of them are ever true, and they're all very annoying. So, due to that, yeah. I have to say, if you're one of those people who just has simply never met a wheelchair user or doesn't know any, and you don't know the etiquette, and you're wondering if you should comment on their chair, no. Keep your thoughts to yourself. Whatever original joke you think you have, even if it's very funny to you, it's something that we will have heard probably hundreds, if not literally thousands of times. And you don't need to share it, and everybody's day will be better if you just keep those thoughts to yourself. Don't mean to be rude, but I can only take so many speed limit jokes. For example, people love the speed limit jokes, which is crazy because my chair's top speed is 5 fucking miles per hour, which is slower than a jogging speed. And when people jog around, I don't hear anything about the speed limit. Yet when I am going full speed, under jogging speed, in my power chair, suddenly people have issues with it. And I have issues with that. Like, unless you're actually a cop, why don't you go suck my dick? Because I'm going to go to the speed I want to go. Fuck you. That's my general thoughts on that. But yeah, a little bit of wheelchair etiquette for you if you didn't know. Simply keep your thoughts to yourself and everybody will be happy. There's a whole bunch of PM in this section. It's messing up my time. I actually don't even know how many punis we've done. I think we're just at 2. Although we are almost 19 minutes in, so if I've only spun 2 punis in 15 minutes, that's not ideal. But I think maybe we're farther than that. I'm certainly not going to count the entire pile to see. Yeah, no way. But it's going pretty well. I thought it might be a little slower than this, actually. But I guess for the other ones, I've mostly been prepping the fiber and then spinning it in smaller batches. So, and I've also been doing other things in streams as well, like finishing off something or just prepping a whole bunch in advance, which is what I did last stream. I've got all of these. Quite fun. It's nice to be able to prep big batches again. I used to do that all the time with wool, and it's just a lot harder on me physically to prep wool. I don't really understand why, but it is. Yeah, it is. So yeah, I haven't been able to in a while, and being able to again, even if it's just this once, which I hope it isn't, but even if it is, that's better than nothing. That's for sure. I think I'm gonna try and remember to take a drink every time I finish a puni, because I really would like to get drunk and not think about anything. So, as you do, as you do. I'm pretty. I used to have some serious alcohol issues, so I do not keep large amounts of alcohol in my house. And if I want to drink something, I have to buy it that night and drink it that night. I don't store it overnight in my house. Um, Mostly because the issues I had were just that I would not stop. But it's kind of difficult to get liquor sold to you if you. Oh, hang on. Yeah, it's kind of difficult to get liquor sold to you if you're visibly very drunk. So that's why I do that. And also, I'm really lazy. I'm like never gonna go buy more. I don't want to go outside multiple times. So I just have. I really just have a no. I hate when that happens. A buzz ball and then some kind of sugar-free something. I didn't really check. I just got sugar-free something, and I'm sure it will taste disgusting, but that's why I'm drinking the buzz ball first. I don't know if I don't know how popular those are, like where they're sold, but they're basically just small, very alcoholic plastic balls. Or no, they're plastic balls that are small that are filled with alcohol that is very alcoholic. That's a more apt descriptor. Like I think it. I mean, it's not very. It's only like 15 to 20% in there. Pretty alcoholic, definitely more than wine. Enough to get you tipsy on one, if you're not me. For me, it's like enough to get something going. But yeah, I certainly didn't buy enough for that much overindulgence because hangovers plus chronic migraine is not so fun. But if I stick to like a big cider and a buzzball, then I don't usually get hangovers. So yeah, we're drinking. Probably also having weed later, but not on stream because getting crossfaded on stream does not actually sound very fun. It sounds stressful mostly. So we're still working on the long draw technique. And I really do feel like I'm getting somewhere with it. It gets easier and more consistent the more I do it. And I'm like slowly learning what it needs, what it wants, what it needs. Which is not to say that I'm not making mistakes, because I certainly am still making mistakes. That'll always happen. But I feel like my hands kind of know what to do. And they certainly did not know what to do before this. So yeah, I'm just so pleased with how my cotton spinning has progressed. Like if you watch the first cotton spinning stream, the first thick cotton spinning stream, I'm garbage at it. I have no idea what I'm doing. And then that was only like a month or two ago, and I put in some real concentrated effort in the time since then, and done some testing, done some experiments, trying to figure out what works for me, what doesn't work for me. And I mean, I have to say, it took me years to get to this point in wool, and it's taken me about a month in cotton. And cotton is not an easy fiber, so I'm really pleased with that. I think it's like, I think over the years I've gotten better at learning. It's kind of odd to think of that as a skill at which one can improve, but it is. Um, for one thing, you get better at learning how you learn because everybody learns differently, right? And so I learned the things that help me learn and the things I need to do to learn. things I need to avoid, that sort of stuff. But then also, you get better at like it's partly a self confidence thing, you know. Um, if you have already done this whole thing where you struggle, you try really hard, it sucks, it's garbage, and then eventually you make it through. That gives you self confidence. And then if you do that over and over, you, suddenly it's like, well, I know I will learn it if I apply myself. And I just have to apply myself, which was something that adults told me a lot as a kid, but I don't think it really means anything coming from somebody else. It has to be something you learn. You have to put that effort in to make that make sense. And I know that's not everybody's cup of tea. I mean, not everybody cares deeply about learning new skills all the time. Certainly, there are other things in life to pay attention to and to care about and enjoy. And I would not begrudge anyone that. But for me personally, learning is one of my favorite things. It always has been. But the problem that I often encountered was that one, I'm extremely dyslexic and I have a very hard time reading. And so getting like learning things through the written word, it doesn't really work for me. For one thing, I can barely read it. And for another, I'm putting so much effort into reading it that what happens is I don't retain it very well. Which is part of why I love handcrafts so much. There's no reading involved in this. If you want to read books, you can. Nobody's going to stop you. And there are books written, and you can read them if that's how you learn. Hang on, drink of time. Yeah. There are books. You can read them if that's how you learn. But if that's not how you learn, you literally don't ever have to read a single thing. At no point. And I don't mean to like slag off reading. I love reading. I read for fun when I can. I mean, it's difficult for me, but it's fun and I enjoy it. But it doesn't work for learning. It just doesn't for me. Um, and so the fact that instead, what I can do is do things with my hands and think with my brain, and not bring words into it at all. And that has helped me tremendously um, to gain some self-confidence among other things, because now I know I'm good at this sort of thing. I'm good at learning, good at figuring things out. But then also just having something to do with my hands and having a field of study that I can continually work on for as long as my progressive disability allows it, that is. That's very meaningful for me. And of course, the looming threat of the progressive disability taking it away from me is not pleasant. But, there's a lot of unpleasant things in life. For example, there's Donald Trump, and we have to deal with that. So, yeah, many unpleasant things, a lot of garbage. But, we continue to spin regardless. You do what you can despite the shit, basically. That said, I don't really want to bring politics into this, and I didn't. I shouldn't have. Not because I want people with opposing views on Donald Trump to be in my stream. I don't. Um, it's absolutely not for them. But simply because it stresses me the fuck out, and this is my enjoyment time. So, yeah, we're gonna go back to not thinking about that. This is going so fast. Like 29 minutes in, 10 of which ish was starting up the stream and getting it all set up. And then so in about 20 minutes we've filled up the bobbin that much. And this is not a particularly thick yarn. Like, it's a worsted 3-ply. Or it will be a worsted 3-ply when I 3-ply it. I think anyway. I'm not totally sure. I'm still kind of figuring out how much cotton puffs up. It definitely puffs up some, but not consistently enough for me to understand. Yeah. Um, but yeah, it's going really fast. I'm very pleased. One row tends to. Well, no, that's not the right way to start that sentence. I think there's like 4 possible rows that you can put on there, and really it's usually more like 3, if I remember correctly. And by rows, I mean, moving it over from the hook many times. Um, oh, hey, Zertra, nice to have you in. We are spinning. Yeah, I think usually I can do like 4 rows, 3 to 5. Let's put it there. And we're already on the second one. And it's only been 20 minutes, so yeah, this should go fast. I'm hoping. I'm hoping we can get the whole bobbin done because that would be awesome. That would be incredibly fast. I'd be very pleased if that were the case, but we'll have to see. How is your evening going, Zertra? Or I guess night, whatever time it is for you. How you doing? Oh, I was like, why is it sort of just floating and not going in? Kind of forgot that you have to continually up the tension. I'm so used to spinning on spindles, like supported spindles, that I just straight up forget you have to pay attention to that sort of thing. It's funny, it's just not at all something that comes to mind when spinning on a supported spindle. You're a bit exhausted. You got vaccinated today. That does sound tiring, but a good reason to be tired, to be fair. How about me? I had a really bad day, but it's going a lot better now. It's going quite well now, I would say. I'm drinking a bit. I am working on this massive pile of punis. That's always fun. I do have a pretty bad migraine, so that's why the lighting is different. Let me know if you're having issues seeing. There's a couple other things I could do. I won't turn on the main lights because then I just have to stop the stream. So it's not really much point in that. But I do have a couple other lights I can turn on and bring around that would illuminate a little more. I can never tell. Like I can see what it looks like on my stream, but I know that's going to be different for most other people. Spinning is better than bad days. Yeah. If I could spend all my days spinning, I would. Like I feel like in one of those, medieval / prehistoric settings, fantasy settings where you've got like a village and everybody's sort of doing one job. Like, yeah, pottery is cool, cooking is cool. I'd love all those things, but I would be the spinner. And obviously, I would be one of many, many spinners because it takes a lot of spinners to clothe a village. But I would take so much joy in spinning every day. Kind of a bummer that I live in a time and a society where this does not matter at all. Like, it only matters to me, and I can't make a living off of it or do it as my sole source of income. It is a bummer, but I'm not going to stop doing what I can anyway. So we've got this on the highest world right now, which I didn't think would work particularly well. Turns out I actually accidentally switched it to the highest world not that long ago on the last stream and didn't notice. I think it must have jumped at one point, like the drive band jumped off the thing, and so I just put it on the smallest one. But it's working really well. Like I'm having a couple of issues, but I don't think those are related to the world necessarily, and none of them are game breaking, for lack of a better word. Yeah, you can see all right, might need help for like colors. Fair enough. I don't think we'll be involving any colors at all today, so but noted if I do show something colorful. Thank you. You love the blue shadows, honestly, very tableau-y. Yeah, you're right. I didn't realize it was blue until I looked at it in the screen, but I guess that's actually just the sky reflecting off my spinning wheel. I have like this shade curtain thing down, but it is not doesn't block that much light, so you can still see the sky through it. I didn't realize that you could still see the sky reflecting through it as well. That's really cool. It's so weird that it doesn't matter as a society or as a society level after thousands of years with fiberwork being central. I know, right? Like, what are the odds out of all of the eons of human and hominid history? What are the odds that I ended up in like the 1 century where it really, really, really doesn't matter to anyone? I mean, that is an overgeneralization in some ways. Like, there are definitely still cultures where spinning is central, or at least is still a large part of life. Just not my culture, certainly. But like, come on, just 500 years earlier, and I would have been golden. I would have had the time of my life with this stuff. But no, had to be 2025. Huh. I'm having a weird issue all of a sudden where it is like pulling super hard and going super thin, even though I didn't change the tension. But I don't actually want it to be this thin, so I need to do. Okay. It seems to me like when it goes too thin like this, what I need to do is add way more twist, and then that will stop it from drafting as much, which I might be wrong, but as I remember, that is the opposite of how it works with wool. So that's not intuitive at all. Like with wool, if you have a lot of twist, you'll get a thin yarn, right? But if you have only a little twist, you'll get a thicker yarn. Or am I wrong about that? It's been a while since I spun wool, so I actually don't remember. But that's what I thought it was. So I'm a little befuddled, actually. But yeah, when I speed up my treadling again, it's fine. I only have those issues when I slow down. Maybe it's because I'm like, actually no, I have no idea. But even this is a little finer than I want it to be. I want a little bit chunkier than this. We were getting a perfect gauge for a while there. But yeah, I think it literally is just, I need to draft less and treadle more, which makes me think that really like the best wheel, nope, don't you dare. The best wheel for cotton might actually be like a flax production wheel or something like that. Potentially. That's how it is with wool. Wait, so it's the same with wool? Um, you add lots of twist and it gets big? Sorry, I was rambling for a little too long. No, I'm not sure which one you're saying. What's cotton's deal? Oh, well, that context makes me think it is the opposite. Yeah, I don't know what the hell is up with cotton. It's very, it's like the opposite of everything you'd expect from everything I've learned from wool and flax. I thought since I knew wool and I knew flax, cotton would have to be like one of them, you know? But no. No, not at all. It's nothing like either of them. It's its own really weird thing. Really weird, really lovely thing. But yeah, I bet a flax production wheel would really get me going because those things, sometimes you'll have some with wheels that are massive, and so the ratio will be like 32 to 1, which And for reference, I'm currently using a 17-to-1 reference, or 17-to-1 ratio. So for every 1 revolution of my big wheel here that I'm turning with my treadle, the flyer turns 17 times. So we could double that with a flax production wheel if I had one, which I don't. Imagine, that'd be so incredibly fast. That would be so cool. I have never wanted a flax production wheel so badly. It's hard to find those though. They didn't make a whole lot of them. I've seen them for sale before, but it's not like I'm just gonna go buy a flax production wheel. It's like you find it if you spend some time looking for it, but it could be months, could be potentially years if you're looking for something close by or cheap or specific. But yeah, I need to build up like so much twist for this to do what I want it to do, and then I forget, and then I draft a little bit too fast, and then I've lost it, and I have to do it again. It's really odd. It's not something I've noticed before when I was spinning cotton, but I don't think it's changed. I think this is how it's been the whole time. I just wasn't really going this fast. But I have a feeling this might be a thinner, a somewhat thinner bit. But also, like, look how full the bobbin is. It's only been 40 minutes. And I wasn't even spinning for like 5 to 10 of those. So, yeah. You didn't know there were fiber subtleties with wheels? There's not mostly. As far as... Oh, Chuck, I'm sorry. There's something in her way. Even though she could have gone a different way, she didn't want to. Hang on. I'm willing to mess up my time to pet Chuck, obviously. Obviously. Hi, Chuck. You're so willful for a cat who got a can and so much catnip. She's always got woes. Anyway, I think as far as I'm aware, when it comes to specifically like treadle spinning wheels, the flax production wheel is the only variable that I know of. I might be wrong. There may well be a couple of really niche ones, but I've never heard of them, and I have spent a fair amount of time researching that sort of topic. So I believe it is just flax production wheels or normal wheels, and that's it. I mean, there are the double flyer wheels, so-called two-handed wheels, but I don't think that those are for flax specifically. I think they're just a niche tool that you could use for anything. So, yeah, I get it with flax though, especially if you're spinning like really, really fine flax. You'll want to add a ton of twist because flax works that way. And with cotton, the only issue that I can think of though is that typically the orifice for those wheels is tiny because you're expected to be spinning a very thin diameter of flax. And that's not really what's going on here. Hi, Chuck. Obviously. I mean, it is thinner than I want it to be, I will say that, but it's not that thin. Chuck, what are you doing? Putting your nose on my treadle. What are you doing? She's like, well, nobody's paying attention to me, and it makes me very sad. I'm sorry, Chuck. She'll take this opportunity to... That's one drink down. We're also drinking today, I will say that. I have to get my other drink. I had it wrapped up in a wool blanket with an ice pack. I don't have a cooler. So Chuck, what are you doing? Sorry, hang on. This is definitely messing up my time, but I think that's okay. Realistically, anytime I spin, Chuck, what are you doing? Here, let me move this. Don't just get off that. Realistically, anytime I spin, there's going to be something else I'm doing, so there we go. Hopefully this isn't disgusting. Chelsea, no. Don't be doing any of that, dude. That's all so annoying. Come on. Hopefully this isn't too disgusting. It is a 0 sugar Mountain Dew alcoholic beverage. I bought it specifically because it's 0 sugar and I really don't need more sugar today. It tastes like straight Mountain Dew, actually, which I don't love, but it's better than alcohol taste, so we're good. Cool. All right, back to spinning. Sorry about that. Let's see. Is the bobbin all from tonight? Yes. Yes, it is. The bobbin, I started this about 9 minutes into the stream, and we're 45 minutes in now. Yeah. And we're not even going to need to finish this entire pile of punis. I was weighing it, and my full bobbin is 40 grams, and then the pile of punis is 47. So we actually have probably 2 or 3 extra punis in there that I'll be able to reserve for later. So yeah, I'm I'm pleased with how fast it's going. If I can like card enough to oh Chuck, she looks so angry at me. If I can card enough to spin in one session and then spin it all the next session and then rinse and repeat, I think we would actually have a blanket pretty fucking fast. So that's because I feel like I could do a plying stream and then potentially still have time to do a whole bunch of carding as well, right? I'm not sure. It's gonna depend, but I think it's possible. So that is exciting. Because I was thinking like a week or two per bobbin, or not per bobbin. Sorry, a week or two per like finished 3-ply. So 3 bobbins. But if I can do 1 bobbin a day plus prep time, that's a lot faster for sure. Okay. Yeah, it seems like I almost need to build up so much twist that it starts drafting itself out, and then I just pull a little to smooth it. And that's the only way to stop it from running way too thin, which is just so alien to me. It's the opposite of everything I know. Like, why? I wonder if it's to do with the shape. No, I lost it. Hang on. Okay, thankfully it didn't get buried in there, because that would have been very sad. But I wonder if it's to do with the shape of the fibers. I think at one point, Ciarl said that they're spring shaped, right? And wool isn't really spring shaped. Wool is like it. Some of it can be if it's incredibly crumpy, but it's more like scaly, like a scaly hair. So I don't know. That's really my only idea, is that it's to do with the shape of the fiber. But even so, I think an understanding of physics might be required. And I don't understand physics that much. I like astrophysics, and I only understand the astro part of it, not the physics part. Do I know in advance the amount of cotton I need for a blanket? Not off the top of my head, but I will be able to check. And I'll be able to check because I have my cotton summer blankets that I've already made. One of which, well, no, I've only made 1 cotton summer blanket, and then I've made 1 linen one, right? So the cotton one, I used just dishcloth cotton. So if I weigh that and then check how many yards I get per ounce or however much of dishcloth cotton yarn, and do a little bit of math, I should be able to figure it out. The only thing is that's for the summer blankets that I've made are kind of like Afghan size unstretched. Damn it. Afghan-sized unstretched, and then when they're stretched out, they fit over the entirety of a twin-sized bed, which is what I have. Also, I keep accidentally staining this with oil, and so there's going to be the very occasional black streak in there, which I think is fine. But yeah, so those are for a smaller blanket, though. But I think if I do that amount of yardage and then multiply it by like 1.5, that ought to be sufficient. Because I still want to do a twin-sized blanket. I don't plan on getting a bigger bed. But I want one that I can have twin-sized when it's unstretched or close to that. So it doesn't need to be too much bigger, but I do want it to be somewhat bigger than my current thing. But that gives me a good ballpark, I think. So once I do that math, once I take the time to do that math, I think I should be golden. So I'm not like totally in the dark, but I also don't know off the top of my head. If I remember correctly, the cotton summer blanket took about 1,000 yards, because I did actually measure it in the past to make I guess I did make another cotton summer blanket. That one is for my sister, so I haven't seen it in quite some time. But I did do that in the past. And I believe it's about 1,000 yards at the gauge I was working with the stitch I was doing, for a twin-sized cotton summer blanket. Yeah, so I think like 1,500 yards. I'm so curious what the yardage on this is going to be. Like once I've got 3 full bobbins and fly them together, I really want to know. I cannot wait to find out. I am having to treadle incredibly quickly though. Like, I feel like I'm sprinting while standing still. It's fun though. I don't usually get to exert myself at all, because it's hard to do that while sitting down, and I can't safely do it while standing up anymore. So I'm enjoying it. Maybe my knees will have problems with that in the morning, but I mean, you know what they say about knees. Fuck them. Who gives a fuck about knees? That's what I always say about my fucked up, terrible knees that like bending the wrong way and dislocating. I'm very grateful that I can still treadle. I'm not gonna lie. There was a period of like a year or so where I just straight up couldn't, because I was having to walk around all the time, and it was really destroying my knees. But now that I don't really have to walk too much, I just walk in my apartment, and I don't have to walk anywhere else. That helps a lot. So yeah, I think it's mostly thanks to the power chair that I can treadle at all. You read about cotton being spring shaped too. Yeah, I don't know enough about shapes and or things to know how that really actually affects it. Like, how does that change how it works? That part I don't know. Putting the spin back in sprinting. Fair enough. For real, knees hate you already, no mercy. I know, right? For real. Hi, hi, Ciara. It's nice to have you in. We're getting there fast today. We are doing fast things quickly, and it's very enjoyable. In case you are wondering about the math, Ciara, I weighed my full bobbin, obviously having teared it using one of the empty bobbins. I weighed my full bobbin, and it is 40 grams of cotton. And then all of these punis that I made, well, there's not as many now, but all the punis that I made yesterday was 47 grams. So we should stop when we have like 2 or 3 left, I suppose. Regardless of whatever that looks like, probably. I don't know if we actually will finish today, although I think we might. It's possible. I'm not feeling too terrible yet, and we're about halfway there, actually. And it's not even been an hour. So, yeah, it's gone very fast. Enjoying it. Confused by cotton, as always. It's very confusing. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But nonetheless, we are spinning. I might have to take a break at some point to apply some Tiger Balm to my shoulder and or to pet Chuck, who is once again very willful. Hang on. I have to stop immediately for Chuck purposes. Chuck, if I could have you on my lap while I spun, I would, but you don't enjoy it. She doesn't like the constant moving. She's like, why can't I sit on your lap and you don't spin? What about that? Classic cat activity. I know, buddy. Such a hard life you have. Oh, I know. She literally even had a can. I gave her a can before this so that she'd be happy. I gave her some catnip. I put catnip on her favorite toy. I did many things to make her happy before I started spinning. And as soon as I started spinning, she was like, I'm the saddest little guy that's ever existed. The saddest ever. With the hardest life out of anyone or any cat who has ever been born. Which is, of course, entirely true. The long draw, I feel like I'm both figuring it out and maybe getting worse at it, which, to be fair, is often a learning curve that I go through. I'll start, quote unquote, figuring something out, and then it gets way worse. No, ugh, that keeps happening. Stop it. Okay. Like, I'll figure something out and then get worse, but it's because I've gotten comfortable with it, and so I've stopped doing these necessary bits of it that I didn't realize were unnecessary until I stopped doing them. So I think even the getting worse part is very important for me when I'm learning, because it makes me, like, it sort of forces me to take a step back and evaluate what about this actually makes it work and what doesn't. So it's always a constant, constant balance of getting better, getting worse, understanding more, questioning more, understanding less. No, ugh, that is just a me problem. That's not even like a. It's not even like a spinning mistake problem. It's just sometimes my hands kind of just stop being able to hold things, and so outside of spinning, that results in me dropping stuff all the time. Oh my god, such is the fucking orifice hook right now. Hang on. But in spinning, it mostly just results in me accidentally letting go, and then it, you know, flies onto the bobbin. But at least it's a very fixable mistake, not too bad. Okay. I want to count and see how many we've done so far in an hour. And keep in mind, it's actually less than an hour because there was a bit of an intro. Poor Chuck. I know, right? The saddest little guy ever. You have a friend who's very into learning about bad things, mostly tabletop RPG in his case, with the idea that you learn a lot knowing what went wrong. You feel like that's a useful approach? Honestly, yeah. Like, I mean, I think for one thing, everybody has a different style of learning, and not a lot of people take the time to learn enough to figure out how they learn, if that makes sense. Hang on, I'm gonna shut up for a second while I count. 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 23. Wow, we've only done 9. I would have thought we'd done about half by now. I think we may have massively overestimated the number of punis that we need. um, wow, I thought we would be about 15 in, not 9 in. That said, it is entirely possible that I miscounted the number of punis I started with, but I was pretty sure it was 32. I was pretty damn sure. I guess I could technically go back and review the footage and count, but I'm probably not going to do that. Wow. Well, I'm curious how many it's going to take to fill up the thing. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, yeah. You learn so much from failure, like genuinely. I think if you're just coasting along the whole time, you don't have to question things very much. You can, if you want to, and if you're that sort of person, you certainly can, but you aren't forced to, and you're also not really forced to overcome problems if there aren't any problems, right? Only, yeah, fair point. 9 is a fair amount. I guess I just like the amount on the bobbin versus the amount of punis left seems disparate to me. I don't really understand where they all went. Or why, rather, I don't understand why there's still so many here. You're feeling like that about cotton lately too. You usually stop when things start going wrong for a break, but that's not really doable when streaming. Yeah, exactly. And that's part of the reason that, oh, Chuck, hello. That's part of the reason that I think I've had such success with cotton is that I've been streaming. The very first cotton stream was straight up embarrassing. I was doing so badly, but there were people watching, and I didn't want to just stop because that would be even more embarrassing, right? So I just kept going, and by the end of the stream, I was able to do it. Um, and just that little bit of momentum and triumph was enough to catapult me for a while into where I am now. So yeah, completely agree. And I think particularly with cotton, it's not really if you take a break and then go back to wool, you're not really doing yourself any favors, or at least when I am, I'm not. I'm sure that is different for everybody. But for me, cotton is such a different beast that if I stop doing it, I forget. And if I do something else instead, that actually is almost worse than doing nothing because I go back to thinking in terms of wool or in terms of whatever. I'm not. Cotton is so strange in how it behaves that you have to remember it's cotton the whole time. As odd of a sentence as that is, if you forget you're spinning cotton, bad things will happen. All right. I haven't been stopping to pick out too much debris. For one thing, I can't see it. So that's a pretty compelling reason not to, which actually I kind of like. But also, I want to go fast. I don't want to be pulling out debris all the time. So we're mostly ignoring it as much as possible. You do that with weaving, you stop as soon as you get upset. It's starting to be a while, actually. That's fair. I mean, everyone has their own approach to things, but I mean, I will say that you can't always do this. You can't always just push forward and keep going. That takes a toll. It's hard work. Like the fact that there's the easy road and the hard road, and this is the hard road, it does take a toll, and you have to pay for it with energy and especially a lot of like mental energy as well. Um, so you can't keep going on like that forever. You are going to have to take a break. But that said, if you don't ever exercise that muscle of, I'm doing something really hard and really difficult and really frustrating because I want to see the end result, you don't do that. You don't build that muscle. Of course, that said, it's never too late to start. Now, interestingly, I'm not really the kind of guy to do difficult things. I don't like to. I can and will take the easy way out 90% of the time. Um, but some things call for it. Some things are worth it. Like at work, am I taking the hard road? Fuck no. Easy road all the way, all the time. But with my spinning, I can kind of afford to take the hard road for a while, anyway. I also like with things like socks, sock knitting. I don't ever do the hard things. Is the thing. I did the hard part of learning how to knit a sock and how to knit a sock that fits me, which, to be fair, is not necessarily an easy feat. It does depend on your feet, but it's not necessarily easy. That in itself can be quite challenging and time consuming. But once I learned that, I have not had to do anything difficult regarding socks since then. I don't do difficult patterns. I don't even change up how I knit socks. I do the exact same thing every time. But in some ways, it's sort of like picking your battles, right? Like I don't want to improve my socks. I'm actually really happy with how I have them, and the improvements that I start doing come naturally. There's sort of like chances that I take. Like for example, on the pair of socks I'm knitting right now, I realized I had cast on too few because I got my gauge wrong. And so what I did was, like typically I add a gusset to my sock, an inch or two above the heel, and that gives me room for my foot and room for my heel. But in this case, not only am I doing that, but I also added just a tiny gusset, sort of like after my toe, so that there was room for the rest of my feet. Because that first small toe, like it fits on my toe, but it would not fit on the rest of my foot. And I have a feeling I'm actually onto something with that, but that was entirely by accident. Um, and that's okay. Like I can and will make continual improvements by accident if I take the easy road. I'll still get better. I'll still learn things. I'll still sometimes be forced into difficult situations just because I fuck up, right? But then when it comes to this, if I tried to do that, I would be stuck doing the same thing for so long, and not getting what I want to get. And what I want to get is speed and accuracy, you know? Whereas with socks, what I want to get is socks that fit me. And I already have that. So anything else is a bonus. A slightly better fit, that's a bonus. I don't need it. It fits fine as it is, but it's a bonus. But am I ever going to be introducing like lace and cabling to my socks? Probably not. Even though I have patterns picked out that I'd really like to do, it's not worth it to me necessarily. At least not right now. But this is worth it. This is very difficult, but very worth it. Also, I think I after I've spun this cotton blanket, I really and truly have to get started on milkweed before I lose my chance. Um, and I'm excited to do that too because it's becoming milkweed season out here. The milkweed in front of the house where I was living last year is already coming up. And I'm kind of considering going back there and taking it because it's like, what is the landlord gonna do? Exactly. It's on public property, so I might. Um, we'll have to see. But there's also sections near my house that have some milkweed growing that I can. I haven't seen it yet, but I assume it'll grow that I can pilfer. But I had a thought. Um, which was that maybe in between skeins, so every time I fill up all 3 bobbins and then make a big 3-ply yarn out of it, I might do some wool, just like a small wool bat as sort of a palette cleanser. My thought process behind that is mostly that I do tend to get a little bored. This is entirely white, so there's not even any different colors to focus on and enjoy. It's pretty much all going to be white, and it's all the same fiber, and I'm doing exactly the same thing with it. So I anticipate getting bored. Even though the fiber itself is new to me, that won't last, right? So I've been kind of thinking that I might maybe make like a small bat or a really pretty rolag or something like that, and spin that on stream and just have like one stream in the middle. Oh, like a wool intermission or something like that. I'm curious what your thoughts are on it. Also, I think you can tell I'm getting progressively slightly more inebriated because I keep dropping the fiber more and more often. I'm in no way drunk, but it's already pretty easy for me to do that on accident, even when I'm sober. So getting a little tipsy does not help. That's for sure. But yeah, I'm curious what your thoughts are on it, and if you'd be more interested in having like a longer wool intermission, or just a one-stream wool intermission, or something like that. I don't think I have a preference. So, and if you don't have a preference either, that's totally fine. I will probably just pick whatever seems easiest at the time and maybe change it up. But yeah, I think I'll probably have to do that just for the sake of the project itself, because otherwise I'm a little worried I might not finish it, or at least I might put it away because I get bored and really want to do something else. Whereas if I have a sort of, promised regular intermission of doing other fancy, colorful, fun things, I'm less likely to get bored. Knowing myself, that's how I operate. Hi, Chuck. I have spun milkweed. I love milkweed. It's so fucking hard to spin. To preface, so hard to spin. Oh my god! But that was before I got my cotton cards. So, Chuck, what are you doing, dude? Oh, that was so sad. She's a very round cat, and she just tried to walk through the stool, which is the legs are quite narrow, and she got stuck and was like pulling it along with her. Oh, dude. Oh, buddy. It's okay. Oh, that was priceless. I wish it was on camera, but I think it's a little too low. But that was so good. You like the idea of a wool pause? Nice. Okay. You've been switching back and forth between cotton and wool too. For you, it's more about just needing a break to feel like you are still good at spinning. Yeah, I get that. That's why I was doing the wool warm up each time, was to prove to myself before I tried to tackle cotton that I knew how to spin in general and that I was not a total fraud. So that's very relatable, for sure. And that's good. I think if I'm being honest, you two are the main regulars. I have a couple other regulars, but you two are the main regulars. So if you are good with it, then I think that's probably what we'll do. I'm also good with it. So sorry, I keep forgetting that I mean to take a few sips every time I finish a puni, and then I don't know how many punis have gone by since the last time I took some sips. So I might suddenly pause and gulp some down. Because, like, in theory, pacing myself out that way is a great idea, but in practice, I don't remember or notice when I'm switching from one to the next. So, After this one, I'm gonna try and remember to apply a bit of Tiger Balm on my shoulder, which is fucking killing me. Don't you dare. Wow, I'm dropping it so much that that is very annoying to me. I'm fairly sure that it's got nothing to do with the fiber or how I prepped it, but at this point I'm not positive. Because I've done that so many times now that I'm kind of wondering if it's a little loose. It's a possibility. I mean, like everything with cotton, I don't understand it well enough to have more than a guess. So, yeah. It's crazy how fast this is working up, though. About 1 solid hour of spinning, I'd say, if you take out all the time of, setup, chuck, other things, chatting, drinking. If you take that out, I've probably been spinning for about 1 straight hour. And we're already like, I don't know, definitely over half. I'd say around 2/3, if I had to guess. 2/3 of the way done with the bobbin. But also definitely not 2/3 of the way through the cotton, which befuddles me greatly. My main theory at the moment is that I have the tension a lot lower, but I tend to keep it pretty much the same. I keep it at the lowest possible tension that I can, because it's easier on my knees that way to treadle. So, well, hello again, Chuck, with your huge sad eyes. Oh my gosh. That's Chuck in existence. He's like, I can't believe you told your chat that I got stuck in his stool. What a guy. I know, poor Chuck. Well, if we're all on board with the idea of a wool intermission, that is what we'll do. That just means I need to make a couple of, well, I don't know. I guess the next question is, do we just want the occasional little taste test of like one really beautiful roll lag or something? The problem is with that idea, I can see the beauty of the roll lag, but you guys won't be able to because, potato camera. So I don't know. Obviously, it will be colorful, and I'll try and do something, but I'll try and do what I can to make it show up on stream. But one super beautiful roll lag it doesn't really work in this scenario. But I guess I'm wondering, do we want a full stream of wool intermission, or just like start of every stream once we've finished a set of plied yarns? We do a short one, or do we do like one whole stream that's just wool? Because I have some projects I could continue working on. Like I've got some Shetland that I should be spinning. I've got a ton of Rolags already made, but I just have never ever spun up. That are just sitting there, probably getting compacted. So we have lots of options, but I'm not really sure what to go with necessarily. I'd kind of prefer a one-off because I do worry about consistency. I've been burned before with consistency on big projects. Chuck, what are you doing, buddy? Just being so mournful. For some reason, the shape of her face makes it look like she's always very sad because her eyes are always really downturned and they're also huge compared to the rest of her face. And so she does the really tragically sad puppy dog eyes just way too low. And gets whatever she wants because of that. Just very spoiled. Don't forget the tiger ball. Thank you. You know what? I'm going to do it now because I don't even know if I've done one since, and I should just do it. Thank you for the reminder. I appreciate that. Please do not stay in distraction. I only just thought of that, but I'm sure as hell not getting up to get another shirt. Can you see my shirt on stream? No, I guess I could take it off. Kind of one of my favorite shirts. just gonna do this. If it ends up being that my chest is visible, which I don't think it will be because I don't think I've seen it this whole time. Well, if it bothers you, let me know. I'll put it back on. But it's also slightly too warm in here anyway because I can't be running the AC if I'm gonna sit right here and stream. Because that thing in the background with the vents, that's the AC. So it's very loud. Okay, now I just need to let my hands dry for a second, so I shall drink in the meantime. You just see any? Cool, yeah. All right. Well, that makes it easier for me. I've had so many of my favorite shirts absolutely stained with like medication and stuff that I've tried to put on my shoulders. And it's so sad every time. So I'm kind of done with it, you know. Okay, I think we're good. And the smell offended Chuck so much that she went away and now is staring at me in disgust. Which I mean, I feel a little bad about it, but it, her being right next to me is not conducive to spinning. So my hands are still slightly sticky. Um, well, I'm gonna wash this stuff anyway, so I really don't think it matters, honestly. Hell, we'll probably get Tiger Balm on it as a blanket. I really love Tiger Balm. Um, it helps a lot. Just for like that random ass pain that you don't even know what's causing it. It just it's a body part that hates you helps a lot for that. All the terrible things are happening to this cat. It sounds almost like it's my cat typing that. Zotra, are you secretly Chuck? Is Chuck beaming her thoughts into your brain so that you'll type them in chat? Oh, buddy. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, she has a pretty good life. She doesn't ever have to go to work. She gets to sleep all day and do as many drugs as she wants, and uh, eat a pretty unlimited amount of food. She's actually like she's quite fat, but I think it's kind of a metabolism thing because she doesn't eat that much and she's not food motivated. And also feeding her diet stuff like diet food does not work. It doesn't do anything okay. So she gets to be fat and happy and yell at crows all day. She's got a good life. But there are the woes, the many, many, many uncountable woes that are so woeful. You can't even imagine how woeful. It was you the whole time. I knew it. Absolutely knew it. So tomorrow I get to go to the farmer's market. They're like finally opening up again around here. And I'm gonna go to the farmer's market with my sister. And apparently there's one pretty close by that is fairly accessible, although that's always a big question mark because I mean I've complained to her about a lot of wheelchair things, so I think she understands the big inaccessibilities, but there's a lot of there's a lot of things where it's like until you're in a wheelchair, you just simply won't think about it. You won't be able to. Um, so it's possible it won't work out, but I have my fingers crossed and I'm excited. And I've purposefully not bought any vegetables recently. I've just been eating the vegetables that I had so that I can buy lots of vegetables and not let them go moldy. So I'm very excited for tomorrow. I love farmers markets so much. I don't like them as much in the city. I'm not going to lie, they aren't as fun in the city, but they're still better than going to a supermarket or something by about a billion times better, right? Wish me plenty of vegetables. Thank you. Yesterday, when I went to, damn it, when I had to get up to preheat the oven, it's so that I could roast some zucchini and some crookneck squash that I had, which originally I bought for ratatouille, but I bought two zucchini and two crookneck squash, and when I made the ratatouille, I ended up only using one of each. And so I had that left over, and they were starting to go bad. And all I did was, toss them with a bit of olive oil and then some spices. I think I literally just used like marjoram, um, salt, and pepper, and that was it. And baked them for a long time, and they were so incredibly good. And shockingly to me, the crookneck squash had a lot more flavor to it than the zucchini did. I think of zucchini as really flavorful when you cook it down, and I did cook it down. Like they were smaller, they were browned, and I don't really think of crookneck squash as having a lot of flavor, but I guess I just haven't eaten enough of it. But yeah, it was so good. So I think I need more zucchini and more crookneck squash, which is great because those are dirt cheap here because they grow like weeds. So I love zucchini so much. I could live off of zucchini if people would let me. Like, you know how people talk about zucchini problems? Where they planted, just a reasonable 5 zucchini plants because they didn't know any better. And then they're overrun with zucchini and they're like trying to give away zucchini and like ding dong ditching people and leaving zucchini at their house to try and get rid of it. Well, if they met me, they wouldn't have to do that anymore. I would take care of all their zucchini problems so quickly. It's just so good. It's so delicious. My favorite thing to do with zucchini, well, there's a lot. There's a lot of delicious things, but my favorite is to caramelize it, like you do with onions, and it caramelizes a little faster than onions, and it tastes absolutely incredible. Like the best, most flavorful vegetable bouillon you've ever had probably had a ton of caramelized zucchini, or at least it could have, and it would have tasted the same. Oh, a tiger balm is helping so much. I'm really glad I did that. Like mint, yeah. You ran into a curb cut that you couldn't get up because it was so uneven the other day. You were in your rollator, not a wheelchair, but you can only imagine. Yeah, so I had a rollator directly before I had my wheelchair. And I remember when I was in my rollator seeing things like that and being like, oh my god, one, this is gonna fucking suck when I have a wheelchair. Which is true. And two, wow, this must suck for wheelchair users. And three, this sucks for me already. What the fuck? And yeah, it turns out life is now just full of roads that I can go partially down, find that there's no curb cut, and back up on. And that is just a huge part of my existence. And it's very frustrating. Um, I honestly have not figured out how to deal with it yet. Like, I mean, obviously, I know how to go around, but more like the clear and constant feeling of this city was made for people who are not like me. And in fact, they don't give a shit about my experience very clearly because nothing is being done to improve it. And if it were like this for everyone else, it would be fixed. But because it's only like this for me and people like me, it won't be because nobody cares. That's hard. It's hard to reckon with. Um, and I haven't figured out how to get over that yet, except by getting very mad, which I do. But yeah, I know what you mean, basically. It is. I mean, it's kind of like mint in that you can end up with way too much, but it isn't. It won't take over your whole garden year after year like mint does. I would say it's safer than mint, but I also really like zucchini, so like it can self seed if you don't pick it. Um, so I guess it could technically do that like mint does if you don't appreciate it. Sort of like a curse in that regard. 5 zucchini is too many. That's where I beg to differ. I would say 100 zucchini is too many, but anything less than that, you just come to me, and I'll take care of that problem. I will eat all of the zucchini. No one can stop me. Sometimes it's been a rainy spring and you get giant zucchinis. Yes, I had a zucchini back when I could still garden. I had a zucchini that was as big as my forearm. So from here to here. And it was bigger than my forearm in terms of width. It was about that big. Or hang on, that big. It was huge. It didn't taste good, obviously. It was overgrown. You want zucchinis when um, they don't have to be young and tender, but when they're big like that, they get very woody. But delicious nonetheless. I cut it up and roasted it anyway, and then the seeds I ate and the roasted flesh I then caramelized a little more because you don't really notice the woody texture so much once you've done a lot of processing to it. But they're not great to eat when they get that big. But also, it's like the bounty of a huge ass zucchini. It's very fun. Used to grow more when you had chickens because the chickens would eat any extras. That makes sense. Chickens are sort of like little garbage disposals that make eggs, as far as I can tell. So that makes a lot of sense. You're taking notes. You noticed getting tired of the way you cook zucchinis. Some other incredibly good zucchini dishes, zucchini fritters. So it's sort of like you grate some zucchini, you squeeze out any extra water if there is any, and then you make like sort of a crepe dough with it, and you can make these thin zucchini fritters, and they're fucking delicious. My sister tends to fry them in oil, but you can also just like cook them like you would a crepe. Um, I know that because I've done that, and they're delicious. And then you can put, like creme fraiche and scrambled eggs, and if you eat meat, you could put like bacon or something in there. Like so good, so delicious. Um, and then of course zucchini bread. Hard to go wrong with zucchini bread. I love me a good zucchini bread. But the other thing, if you're growing zucchinis yourself, if you're growing any squash yourself, you can take the blossoms and so like basically you don't let it fruit. You pull off the blossoms. You can first give them a quick wash as necessary and remove any bugs you see. And then you can add a little bit of cheese. I really like chèvre goat cheese. I mean I can't eat cheese anymore, but that's what I did like. Or something like that. Cheddar also works, but chèvre I think is best. Goat cheese works really well for this. Um, Put a little bit of goat cheese inside and then bread it and fry it, and it's just absolutely incredible. Just like the squash blossom like that is incredible, and you can do that with any squash blossoms. But if you're growing zucchinis and you have way too many, you can sort of not ever let them get to zucchinis or anything like that, and they're so good. My mom did that all the time when I was growing up. One of my favorite foods for sure. But also like one of the foods I've rarely had because it's not like you can buy squash blossoms anywhere. You kind of have to make them yourself. The whole world is made for people who aren't like you in multiple ways. It sucks so bad. Yeah, I get that. For real. Like from a sensory perspective, because I'm autistic, it's hellish sometimes. All the beeping and the lights is like what the fuck, and just from a migraine perspective too. And then being in a wheelchair is like just physically things are not made for me. Spaces aren't made for me. I was having a conversation with my supervisor today actually about like, hey, could we? Because I work at a healthcare clinic, right? And so there's multiple lobbies and places for patients to wait, and we have a whole ton of wheelchair users as patients because we're a clinic, so that makes sense. And I noticed at my PCP's office that they have a little section that says reserved for wheelchair users. Please don't put anything here, something like that. With a little sign, and it's a clear little area. And I never really thought about it when I wasn't a wheelchair user. Even when I used a rollator, I could fit in the other areas, so that's where I was. But when I was, when I got into a wheelchair, you can't fit anywhere else. So I noticed that when I was at my doctor's office, and it was like, oh, I actually know where I can wait, where I won't fucking be in the way, and there's an area reserved for me, and they thought about me, and it was like, I mean, my PCP fucking sucks, and I don't like the guy, but the office, like, that meant so much to me. I hadn't even considered, because there's just never anything like that. There's never any, hey, we thought about you for wheelchair users, or if there is, it's really back and done. So anyway, we don't have anything like that at my clinic, and wheelchair users just have to put their wheelchairs wherever, and then they're constantly asked to move, which, especially if you're in a manual chair, but just in general, it sucks having to move your chair. I don't like having to move my chair because I'm in the way. I also don't like being in the way. I just want to be out of the way so that I can chill like everybody who isn't in a wheelchair. So I was suggesting it to her, and she agreed. So hopefully we can do something about it, because like I've never come to my clinic as a patient. I was never a patient there, and I don't know exactly what the wheelchair using patients experience, but I imagine it feels very unwelcome having nowhere to be that you can be, and that is set aside for you with you in mind, right? And it's just everything is like that. Every single thing on earth is like that, and it's so exhausting and miserable. And it's not just wheelchair users; it's anyone who uses big mobility aids like a rollator. When I had a rollator, mine was pretty small because I'm a small-ish person. So mine could fit in small spaces, and I would make it fit because I wasn't used to taking up a lot of space, and I kind of have to be now. But yeah, it's not really something I encountered until then. But it's certainly also true for rollator users, crutch users, and there's many different other mobility aids that I don't actually know the name of that are quite large and take up a lot of space. And it's like they deserve consideration as much as, if not frankly more, than walking people. Like people who can walk without aids, that is. Because, people who can walk without aids, well, the world is made for them. And it's nice to have the world made for you, but then when the world isn't made for you, when it's explicitly made not for you, and nobody really gives a shit about that, it feels like a little bit of consideration feels like a lot of consideration. A little bit of relief feels like a lot of relief. And I'm really trying to get that for the patients in my clinic, because I don't think we treat them well, and it's shameful to me. I don't like it. But yeah, anyway, rant over. Yeah. Zucchini bread is a favorite of yours, but you love bread. I mean, yeah. Like, bread in general, so good. Zucchini bread, so good. They taste better when they're smaller. The flavor is more concentrated. Yeah, agreed. Sometimes I will go for the bigger ones just because I want quantity, over quality. But you're definitely right, and the smaller they are, the more flavorful. And then especially when you cook them down, they get really good. And that's why you'll sometimes see recipes specify small zucchini, and it's like, why small? Well, it's because they have more flavor. Fried squash blossoms are so good. I know, right? I love that you've both had zucchini blossom things. Yeah, delicious. Like garlic scapes. You miss garlic scapes, but you can't buy them. Oh my god, I know. The very last year that I was able to garden, I grew garlic scapes, or well, I grew garlic and I got garlic scapes, and they were so fucking good, and I miss them so much, and I'm really kind of upset I'm not going to get them again. Um, but it is what it is, right? What can you do? It makes a lot of sense with the wheelchair area. Yeah. You're also fat. For you, there's often not chairs you can use comfortably unless you already complained. It sucks. It's up to you, and people get upset at you for asking. Ugh, that's the worst. Yeah, there's definitely like I use a smallish chair. It's 17 inches wide, and it's actually kind of too big for me because I'm rapidly losing weight for unexplained and somewhat scary reasons. Um, but even so, I have a small, very maneuverable chair, and so little of the world is accessible to me. And then my friends in bariatric chairs, so bigger chairs, like 30 inches maybe, half the time they can't even get through the fucking door. And it's like, why is it okay to make doors that like a decent subset of the population cannot go through no fault of their own? They just physically are not even allowed into the goddamn building. Like, even if you put a ramp there, you're not going to make the door wide enough for a chair to get through. Like, what the hell? And I just get so upset on their behalf. But it's like everywhere. It's absolutely endemic and horrible. And I can imagine that being a rollator user where you need to sit down a lot, or at least that's my experience with a rollator, is that I needed to sit down almost all the time, and that's why I had one. Um, so needing to sit and then none of the chairs or even like you can't even sit in them, like what the fuck? That's that's a failure of society, is what it is. And the fact that you yourself are having to complain about it rather than other people seeing the issue and being like, okay, hang on, what if we didn't fucking suck? That's yeah, that's a huge failure on part of pretty much everybody. I'm very sorry you have to go through that. It's not fair, but worse than that, it's really miserable when that's what you get out of society. It's like no consideration, no nothing. They don't even remember you exist. And if they do remember you exist, it's mostly just to make fun of you. That's been my experience in a lot of ways. And I know that, especially for fat wheelchair users, it's even worse because ableism and fat phobia intersect right there, and that's never fun. It's deeply disappointing in every way. Hope they fix the wheelchair area thing. It's great that you are asking, but I shouldn't have to. I know, right? I mean, I will say I hate that it took me this long to realize because I've worked there for well over a year. But now that I have, I'm like, why am I the first fucking person to bring this up? Like, the clinic is not a year old. Other people have worked here, and yet at no point did anybody. And it's not even. I didn't even think of it. Is the other thing. I had to ask a wheelchair user to move because I needed to get in somewhere, and he was in front of the door. And it's not like he was trying to be in the way. He just had to park his chair somewhere, and that was a place where there weren't any other chairs. So that's where he was. And so I had to ask him to move, and he was like, "Man, wouldn't it be nice if there were wheelchair spots?" And he said it only to me, and he said it very quietly. And obviously, or at least a wheelchair user. And he was thinking, well, hopefully I won't get yelled at this fucking time. Which, yeah, obviously I'm not gonna be mad about somebody complaining about that. But like the fact that it didn't even occur to me is, I don't feel great about that. But now I'm like, we have to fix this, and I'm gonna fucking cause a problem until we do. Like, if we don't fix this, I'm gonna injure myself moving our clinic chairs around, and then I'm gonna claim workers' comp. So is gonna be fixed somehow. And I'm already pretty upset. There's a lot of accessibility issues. For example, there's actually no door that me and my coworker, who's also in a power chair, can easily use. My coworker just straight up has to have people let him in, but he also doesn't open, and I open. I'm usually actually one of the first people in the building, so I can't do that. And I just have to dislocate my shoulder every morning to get inside. And I brought it up with maintenance, and they're like, "Well, it would be $15,000 to install XYZ." Meanwhile, they installed a biometric fingerprint reader that nobody asked them for clocking in by the door at a height that wheelchair users can't reach, I might add. And it's like, I'm starting to think you just fucking hate people in wheelchairs. Particularly your two employees in wheelchairs, but then also just disabled people in general. I don't know. My workplace. I've complained about a lot of accessibility issues, and every single time I get gaslit to hell and back about it. So it's difficult to keep complaining because I don't enjoy being gaslit. But also, if I don't complain, like they don't listen to the patients. If I don't complain, then absolutely nothing is going to happen. And if I do complain, maybe something will. I kind of feel like I have to, but it's not fun. It's very frustrating. Like, why is it even an argument? I get why they don't just know already that there needs to be wheelchair use responses. I didn't even know already, so I get that. Okay, but then why is it an argument when I bring it up? Because there already is arguments about it. There's already like, well, but we need those chairs. Like, okay, and wheelchair users need somewhere to put their chairs too. These are both true. Like, I don't know what to fucking tell you. I don't know. Yeah, I'm upset about it, but it is what it is. People are expensive, so what? You're literally right. Yeah. Like, yeah, it will cost money to help people. That's kind of what we're here for, isn't it? You're completely right, Searcha. Yeah. It's actually kind of insane how this stuff does just taste exactly like Mountain Dew, even though it is hard Mountain Dew, 5% alcohol by volume with zero sugar. It tastes exactly like normal Mountain Dew. Although I do say that as someone who's had like maybe one Mountain Dew in my life, but it's such a distinctive flavor, which I don't necessarily enjoy, but it's a hell of a lot better than alcohol flavor, which I hate. So could be worse. I think it's time to count the punis again. We have this many remaining, which we've definitely made a pretty sizable dent now. So let's see. 15. So technically speaking, we're a little a little over halfway there, which does not make any sense to me at all. I think there's only room for like a couple more, really. I don't know what I did different. No, I am really curious to weigh this once I finish it, and obviously we are gonna finish it because I clearly have time. Um, but yeah, shocking. You're going to start suggesting a wheelchair area at your doctor's office. You've never seen that, and you often have trouble finding a place for your rollator. You never thought there was an alternative, which isn't great. Yeah, I mean, I didn't even think about it, about the idea that there might be somewhere for me until I saw it, and that was after like a year of using my wheelchair. Um, they're not common. At least they're not common here, and they're clearly not common enough there. I really hope that they agree to it. Like literally, all it is removing two chairs, if that, and putting up a little sign, and it makes a world of difference. I really hope that they understand and they do that for you because you deserve that, dude. And like so does every other person who uses a big mobility aid. Like everybody deserves to have a place to sit in a lobby or hang out in a lobby. That's why we have chairs there. It's for most people. Yeah. You hate that the ADA's only resource is lawsuits, which is like legal complaining and people hate it. I know, right? Like, what about just moral accountability to not be a piece of shit? Why is that not a thing? But it kind of fucking isn't, which is really frustrating at times. Like I've had people be like, "What are you gonna do? Sue me?" And it's like, "No, I'm not gonna sue you. But what if you didn't suck? Like, come on. What if you just were a better human being? I don't know. I know exactly what you mean. And then also, even with the ADA, it's like one, people aren't really afraid of it because a lot of the times they don't sue because they have a lot of battles to fight. Frankly, way too many. And then also, like, just becomes a ridicule thing. You threaten to involve the ADA, and they just treat you like you're even more entitled. But it's like I actually am entitled to being able to get into your business like everyone else can. You know, like I'm entitled to not have to go by the fucking dumpster to get into your restaurant, which is the accessibility entrance of most of the restaurants in the like 10 block area around my apartment, which is part of the reason that I don't ever eat out is like I'd have to go by a dumpster and I have a migraine and I just can't deal with food. I'm not gonna. And it's just absurd. Like just put a goddamn ramp. Just put a ramp. The most basic of things. Come on. But then also after that, it's like, well, make a wider door too. I don't know. And then like when I talk to people who live in places where the city is very old and accessibility was like not at all in anyone's mind because wheelchairs didn't even exist, it seems like not just an uphill battle but like a Sisyphean task. Like you try and fix one thing and then oh, we can't fix it because it's of historical importance. Like why is dead history more important than living people? It shouldn't be. Like, yeah, it's important, but it also has to coexist with the present. Um, Inherently, it does already. And so when you don't update it so that disabled people can get in, all you're doing is discriminating against disabled people. That's it. Like, did you add sprinklers to your super old building so that if it caught on fire while people were in there, they wouldn't die horribly? Yes, you did do that. So why won't you also add a ramp? Why won't you also make the door bigger? Why won't you like fix the hallways so that people can get through it? You know, it's always like they'll fix it for the majority of people, but they won't fix it for the disabled. That's where they draw the line. That's what gets to me. you know, I'm I I'm pretty lucky to live somewhere that's fairly modern. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm something of a Luddite and I hate modernity in almost every way. But if I had to deal with all the shit I currently have to deal with, and then also on top of that, I can't get into 90% of buildings because the doorways are super narrow, I would lose my shit. I don't know how people like in Europe do it, where everything is tiny because it's old. I don't know how. Um, I would have just totally flipped my shit ages ago. But oh my god, it must be so frustrating and so deeply unfair as well. No, I don't know. It might partly, sorry, totally changing the subject. The fact that I keep accidentally, like, it keeps disconnecting, breaking, I guess. Breaking is the right word. It keeps breaking and then trying to go into the orifice as just like a chunk of fiber. That it might be due to the way that I'm working or the way that I made the punis. The reason I think that is because like I've been watching it as it happens, and it's not. Sometimes it's that my hand just opens. That one's unavoidable, but sometimes it actually does break. And that I think would be due to not enough carding, is my guess. Like the fibers aren't really connected enough because they weren't carded enough. Um, yeah, that's my guess. So I might need to. I don't think 3 passes is necessary, and I don't plan on doing 3 passes. But I think what I might need to do is just be a little more thorough with my 2 passes, because all of these that I did, like since it was such a big batch, I was going pretty like fast and loose, right? I wasn't really being that careful. I wasn't being very precise, and I wasn't taking as much time as I normally might. So I think I do need to take just a little bit more time to make sure that it's all nice and tidy. That is my thought. You've been considering suing lately. It won't get better if people don't, but you don't really want to deal with all that shit. Who wants to be in court all the time? Yeah. It's sort of a damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? Like if you don't do it, then yeah, you and everyone around you will kind of continue to suffer. But if you do it, you personally will suffer, which is not that's not a burden that should be placed on you or anyone else. It's really fucked up that that's the only option. It wasn't too expensive to rework old cities for cars. Exactly. When it comes to abled people, they'll do whatever. And when it comes to disabled people, it's too expensive. Yeah. It's very plain and very obvious, which makes it even more infuriating. Like, you don't even care enough to lie well about it. Just sucks. Yeah, it all takes a toll. Like, and there's so many things that all take a toll, and then by the end of the day, you're like, God, why am I so exhausted and miserable and frustrated and hate everything? And it's like, oh right, the tolls, all of them. Yeah. Sometimes I come across a puni while I've been doing this that like is terrible, and I clearly just didn't do a great job with that one. But then also sometimes I come across one where I'm like, this is like a fucking angel made it. It's perfect. This seems to be one of them at the moment. It's just going perfectly, exactly how I like. So we are 2 hours in. You know, I actually thought we might have finished it by 2 hours, although that was probably a little optimistic. But we are pretty close. Um, I want to keep going till it's done, unless my shoulder bugs me too much. But at the moment, the tiger's balm is still helping a bit. It's one of those things where it only works for a little while, but just having a break from the pain helps a lot. Even if it goes back to the same level, it's not as distressing anymore. So, yeah, I'm still okay on that front. I don't know why my shoulder is so fucked up. I really hope it's not because of all the carding and the spinning. I think I slept on it wrong. I don't know. That's what I'm hoping is I just slept on it wrong. Um, that or it's because I was looking out the bus window for too long. There's this little. So I ride the same bus to work every morning. Well, same 2 buses because there's a transfer in the middle. But So I ride this bus to work every morning, and typically speaking, I don't really look out the windows. I'm usually looking at my knitting. And the reason I don't look out the windows is that I will dislocate something if I try and turn my body for that long, which is very annoying. Um, but I found this really beautiful little like cottage type looking thing right next to a sex toy store of all things. Um, and it's like it's this little tucked away cottage, and it's got all these roses around it, like overgrown rose bushes everywhere, overgrown grass, and it's just like this beautiful little site, and sort of reminds me of home, because that's the sort of houses we had back where I grew up. And I knew that I'd seen it, but I couldn't remember exactly where along the trip it was. So the last couple of days, I've been looking out the window for like the whole trip, because it turns out it's right towards the end. And the first couple of times I missed it anyway. I must have blinked or something at the wrong time. But I've been looking out the window the same direction every time for 45 minutes a day, and also while dealing with all the jolting and the braking and everything of being on a bus. Like sitting on a bus is not easy. It's very painful and tiring at my current stage of disability. So yeah, all of that combined equals really bad neck pain from that. So I can't look at that thing for a while, I guess. Or if I do, I have to make sure I time it so that I'm only looking over for a couple seconds, maybe. Um, but I'm hoping it's just that and it's not all of this spinning, because I would be really, actually incredibly fucking pissed if I had to stop like right now, or not like right now, but this far into my cotton spinning situation. I would be really pissed off. So that better not be the case, is what I'm saying. Damn it. There we go. Wow. So much cat hair on that. I dropped it for 1 second and then so much cat hair. Oh, Chuck, she looks so sleepy. But yeah, we're definitely gonna finish this bobbin, because I really, really want to know how many are left over when I'm done. And if I don't do it on stream, I'm just gonna get up in the middle of the night and do it off stream. So there's no point in not. So we keep going. Continue. And keep meaning to drink, and then I just forget. I'm too busy talking my head off. It is a fat bobbin. Yeah, we're getting there. Pretty big. I'm happy. You may leave me to it at some point. You probably should go to sleep before dawn. Yeah. Oh my god, dude. Yeah, take care of yourself and your sleep schedule. No worries if you have to go early. Um, it is a really nice cottage. I love that cottage. I hope I can get a picture of it, or I guess like it's probably been taken a picture of on Google Maps, now that I think about it. So I could probably find that too, but I don't know if it'll be quite as pretty. Because like it's something about the really early morning light, because I'm doing this very early in the morning, right after sunrise, and that definitely helps. Surprised to see me still streaming. Thought you'd stop by real quick. Yeah, we're we're going overtime a little bit today. We're going till we're done, because I really want to. Nice to have you in. Been a good stream so far. I don't know why, but we seem to have way too many punis. I don't think they're all gonna fit. Like I've been looking at it proportionally this whole time, and it's always been really off. Like I have like 10 too many. I carded 32 yesterday. And I don't know exactly how many we have left because I haven't counted in a couple of minutes, but We're mostly done. I would say there's room for 5 more. Like looking at it, I think there's room for about 5 more, and I'm pretty sure we have more than 5 left. Um, I did like. There's definitely some extra. The When I weighed the finished bobbin, it was 40 grams, and when I weighed all the punis I'd made, it was 47. But that's not. I don't think that's enough to account for the discrepancy. So I don't really know. Oh wow! I just realized like this was right front and center when I started streaming because it was so tall, but you can barely see him now because the pile has shrunk significantly. But yeah, that's what remains. I'll count them again after this one because I'm curious. Um, we're Yeah, I don't know. I think there's room for 5 more, maybe. Like not as in I could only squish 5 more on them. I could definitely fit more than that, but I didn't fill the first bobbin up all the way. I left a bit of space, and I would rather have them all be similar sizes because I just don't really see an advantage to doing anything else. Like when you're trying to eke on the last tiny bit of fiber for a one skein project, that makes sense because it's like I want one big skein, not one big skein and one tiny skein of the stuff I couldn't fit. That gets kind of annoying. But when it's like a long haul project, like this is, it just doesn't make sense to do that. It makes sense to just do it as easy as possible and as efficiently as possible. That's what I intend to do. Oh, and the other thing is, which I'm pretty sure, like I have talked about it, but it was before any of you were on. It was like right at the beginning of the stream. Um, Turns out I accidentally moved my bobbin, or moved my, there we go, my drive band to the smallest whorl at some point during yesterday's stream, meaning that it's got different amounts of twist in it now, or like it did to begin with. I now am aware of that. Um, I don't really know how to navigate that. I mean, like I could certainly leave it as is, and that may be what I do, but I don't know. I can't really think of another fix. Is the problem? Like I guess I could run it through my e-spinner, but hand wind the first part, which I really don't want to do. Hand winding stuff onto an e-spinner bobbin is not fun, in my humble opinion. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I can kick that problem down the road for at least another day or two, because I still have one more bobbin to fill up after this one too. So before I have to empty one of them to fly onto, But we'll see. We'll see. Till I'm done, big pile of punis I've got there. I know. It's till I'm done with the bobbin, not till I'm done with the punis. Which I think is kind of nice because it means that next time I start, I'll have something to start with. I don't have to start carding right at the beginning of the stream. I can just get a little bit of thing in and then go to carding. So I'm fine with that. I think that's nice. But yeah, I do indeed have a lot still remaining. Oh, I was gonna count. I just remembered that. I was going to count. Okay. 2, 4. We have 13 left, which is insane because I feel like last time I counted, we also had 13 left. I'm gonna recount. Hang on. That can't possibly be right. 3, 5, 8. Okay, 11. Yeah, I just can't count. We have 11 left out of 32. So I somehow have a third of the punis left. But like, look at this. Does this look like I have a third of the bobbin left? No. What happened? I'm so confused. Hi, Chuck. She reappears. She's like, I held in my woe for a while, And now I'm back with my woe and my big eyes and my sadness and my sad little meows and my long curly whiskers. She's back with all of those things, and she has expectations. Now that I've thought it, I think I've already jinxed it, so I'm just gonna say it out loud. But I'm so glad that I have not had any fucking wheel squeaking issues the last couple of days. Because this would not be nearly as fun if we were having wheel squeaking issues. And now that I've both thought and said that, I'm sure it will occur. But nonetheless, I'm appreciating the lack of wheel squeaking I've had so far. It's been good. I don't know why though. Like why the fuck does it pick some days to be horrible and on other days it's like just sounds really nice? Humidity is my only idea, or like temperature maybe. It has been inordinately cold for the last couple of weeks, but then today quite warm, yesterday quite warm. So maybe it's to do with temperature. I don't really understand how that works, if I'm being honest. Some household fairy multiplied the punis when I wasn't looking. I think you're literally right. Something odd is going on there. There's a domovoy or there's something going on changing the number of punis I have. It could even be Chuck, if we're being honest here. Could easily be Chuck, although I couldn't possibly understand her motivation. But mostly what she wants is for me to stop. Maybe she's like, if you never run out of punis, you'll just give up. You were thinking that too? Yay for no squeaking. I know, right? Weather/climate can really impact wheels. I have heard that, yeah. I mean, like, and I believe it too. I just don't understand it. I understand that it's a thing in the way that I understand that I can feel in my jaw when it's about to thunder. My jaw is super fucked up. I've dislocated it so many times. And yeah, when there's going to be thunder and lightning, I get this particular feeling in my jaw, and so I know it's going to happen, which is insane and makes no sense. And I don't understand it, but I do know that it's true. And I guess it's kind of like that in a lot of ways. I wonder if that's how people felt about a lot of natural phenomenon or phenomena rather when like when modern science was still not a thing. Like what did people think about just the existence of thunder, Like I know that there's a lot of gods to explain it. And that probably is what most people explain it with, because what the fuck else, right? But like I don't know, like rainbows? And why did they know why it rained? Did they know why there were seasons? Or like why did they think there were seasons? Why did they think the creek flooded? Like all that sort of stuff. I always wonder what people thought about it. And like whether they knew they didn't know or whether they were confident in whatever answer they had. And I think like to a point that's still relevant. That's still a relevant question today because there's many things we don't know, but we think we know. Like modern medicine, for example. There's a lot of things that we don't actually have an answer to. People think that we do. People like to act like we do. Or in a lot of cases, we think we have the answer, but we really, truly don't. Like a lot of, if you look at pretty much any kind of Roman idea about anything, I mean, they were right about a couple things in the way that a broken clock is wrong twice a day. But about a lot of other things, it's like, wow, you don't even fucking understand how wrong you are. That's insane. And I'm pretty sure that, like, our society is going to be regarded in a similar way at some point in the future, anyway. But it's curious to think about. I like when I can manage to catch it before it actually flies into the orifice. It's not that often, but it's sometimes. Never asked, what kind of wheel do I have? Usually only older wheels are temperamental with weather, as far as you know. Interesting. I have a Kromsky Interlude, I think. Kromsky has 3 different types of wheels that all look like this. And there's the Interlude, the Symphony, and then something else. Mine is whatever the middle size is. That's what I have. I think it's an Interlude, but I don't remember. It's like, I mean, it's not brand new. I've used it for a number of years now, but it was probably made like 2018, 2019. I got it in 2019/2020, sometime around then. I think it was pre-COVID, but I don't quite remember. Yeah, it's not an old wheel at all, but it is very poorly made. I will say that. Like Kromsky as a brand is not a brand that I will support because this spinning wheel is so poorly made that I kind of can't believe it, and it was very expensive too. Um, so yeah, I'm anti-Kromsky if I'm being honest here. I mean, I love my wheel. He's a good wheel. He gets the job done. It's the manufacturers that I'm pissed off about. Uh, yeah, but I could understand that my wheel would be one of the few exceptions to only old wheels do this because my wheel is, well, kind of shitty. If I'm being honest, he sucks, but I love him. But he is incredibly temperamental. I just don't really understand why or what is causing the issue. Like sometimes it's clear, like the fact that the footman simply does not stay in place without something holding it together, like in this case, a rubber band. And for the 5 or 6 years previous, a hair tie. Um, and also the fact that uh, there's a lazy Kate attached to it, but you can only use 2 of them. There's 3 rods of the lazy Kate, and you can only use 2 of them because the third one is too close to the wheel for the bobbin to fit. Which is like, how did you fuck that up like that? How did nobody fucking notice? And there are other problems besides. I don't want to make it sound like I don't love my wheel and like I'm not grateful for my wheel. I am. I think I got scammed though, to be honest. Good to know you were under the impression that Kromskys were solid. Guess that could explain the squeak. I think old Kromskys are solid. And I think, like many things in late stage capitalism, um, they're bad because they can be, because it's cheap and because nobody cares. So if you find an old Kromsky, that is probably just fine, but I would not recommend buying new Kromskys based on my experience. And also, my customer service experience was incredibly poor as well. Just like everything about buying this wheel sucked. And I frankly really wish I had bought a different wheel. Like, if I had really understood um, the spinning wheel market, what I would have done was buy a used wheel. And I really wish that I had because I paid literally $700 for this thing. And it wasn't even what I wanted. I wanted a unfinished, like no, what's it called? This has like color stain on it, and then it also has a finish on it. And I wanted neither of those things that I could paint it, and that's what I ordered and paid for $500. And then after like 3 weeks, Kromsky reached out and was like, "We don't have that actually," and it was put up erroneously, but you could pay an extra $200 and get this thing that you don't want. And for some reason, I agreed because I just really wanted a wheel, and I thought that I already had one. And so finding out that, in fact, they didn't even have what I fucking paid for already. I was like, oh my God, just give me a wheel. And I had the extra 200, so I did. But I regret that. I really shouldn't have. So yeah, don't buy modern crop skis. It's my takeaway from that. I'm sure it differs for everybody, but there were just so many issues. Like the how-to booklet that came with it for assembling the thing was not for this wheel. We tried to follow it, and you couldn't for this wheel because it was referencing parts that didn't exist or parts that were completely different looking, and we had to just guess. I'm lucky that my sister was helping me with it, and she's like the kind of person who gets excited if you buy IKEA furniture and ask her to help you put it together. She's very good at that kind of thing, but I am not. Yeah, it's odd. I hate Kromsky. That is just my personal experience with them. Like I said, I'm sure you'll find some people who have had good experiences, but yeah, I don't know. And the other thing is like there's no benefit to buying a brand new wheel. There's actually genuinely no benefit to it. There are benefits to buying wheels that aren't antique. Mostly the benefit being that you can have more than one bobbin and your bobbin doesn't hold like only 5 grams. Because certainly that's an unfortunate thing with antique wheels is that most of the bobbins were lost, and so you have much less to work with. But like there are lots of used wheels that aren't like that. And the thing about a used wheel is that you can ask them what it's like to spin on. And I think most spinners are honest enough that they'll tell you what the problems are. Like when I sell this wheel, I won't be able to sell it for $700. That's for fucking sure. Um, Hopefully, I'll find someone I can give it away to, like a friend or something. That's what I'd prefer to do rather than sell them. But if I do sell him, I'm going to be pretty clear. Like, yeah, sometimes he squeaks. You can only use 2 of the lazy Kates. The wheel wobbles tremendously, but he does work. um, so I think, like, honestly, you should just buy used. There is no benefit to buying new. It'll be several times more expensive. And if you want to try them out first, then fiber festivals are a really good place. I don't know if this is true of every fiber festival. I'm sure it must differ, but everyone that I've been to has had multiple people selling wheels, usually for like $200. So for comparison, less than 1/3 the price I paid for this thing. And you can try it and buy it right then and there. So if you're in the market for a wheel, check out your local fiber festival when it comes around and see if there are any there. That would really be my advice. And if I could have given my past self advice, that's what I would have told it. You're getting too tired. Have a good end of stream. Good night, Zertra. You stuck it out for a super long time. It must be really late where you are. Have a good night, and thanks for hanging out. I'll catch you another time. I feel like we're getting pretty close. I mean, I can't tell. We actually might already have more on this. Oh, yeah, we do. We have more on this than do on the first one. And we have we have, if you count this almost completely full puni that I just started spinning, we have 10 left. So that's crazy. I kind of don't want to stop spinning right now. I'm on a roll, you know? Oh, Chop, she looks so sad. Nonetheless, I'm going to finish up this puni just on this bobbin, and then we may or may not, depending on how sad Chuck looks, we may or may not just keep going and spin a little on the next one. Like, there's no harm in that, except to my body, I guess. But other than that, wow, 2.5 hours though. That's a pretty good length string. Maybe we should end after this one, after all. I don't know. I can't decide yet. I will let you know what conclusion I come to a little bit later. Honestly, I feel like if you're gonna buy anything, go to a Fiverr festival if you can, because they have such a wide range of things. And I mean, spinning people, we're so friendly. We want more people who spin, right? Like, but also, even when you already spin, we're still, I feel like, pretty friendly and pretty honest. Like, not to say that all spinners are honest people. I think spinners are spinners. We have the same flaws as everyone else in the same, like, to the same extent and the same percentage. But I do think that spinners tend to be fairly honest about their spinning. It's maybe that's me being naive, but that is something that I've noticed. Is that obviously, yes, there are people who grift, there are people who lie. That's how it will always be. But when you ask most spinners, even if they're selling something, even if they have something to lose by being honest, they often will be honest nonetheless. And so, like, actually being able to be there in person and look at things in person is really helpful. And also, you can usually find tools for so much cheaper at a Fiverr festival than you would online, or especially new at a store as well. Like, I saw, and I regret I didn't buy these, but I saw a beautiful pair of for $40. Keep in mind, those usually sell for like 5 times the price. Um, and I should have bought them, but I think I had just run out of money. Like, I'd pulled out a specific amount of money from the ATM and left my my debit card at home so that I didn't bankrupt myself. And so I didn't buy them. But yeah, there's always like such good cheap tools at Fiverr festivals. I do love them. You've been fighting with your internet. It's looking good. Ah, your internet problems. You hate to see it. But yeah, it is looking big also. Turn wheel has similar issues to your antique one, is the thing. Ooh, interesting. The antique ones have an excuse at least. That's curious. I didn't, to be honest, I was thinking this is all just because it was manufactured like absolute shit by people who don't care. But if your antique wheel has the same thing, that is kind of just not true of, like, that mindset is not true of antique wheels, right? Of it's about money and who cares how long it lasts. That's a modern thing. So I guess the antique ones also have problems. That sucks. I mean, I knew they had problems, but these are such annoying problems. Can I ask what problems your antique wheel has? I'm curious now. We're almost done with this pony. I'm thinking maybe I just start on the next one, like just get a pony on there so that it's not empty, uh, and so that I don't have to attach it next time, for one thing. But I do think we're gonna end this guy here. Um, I wish I hadn't put my scale so far away because I could weigh him. But just as a visual comparison, let's see if I can get both of them next to each other. Let's see what we can do. I almost didn't stream today because I was in so much pain coming home, and I was also in a really bad mood. I'm glad I did though, because this has been a great stream. Of course, you can't see a single thing. Oh, hang on. Let's see if I can move this light down here. Hang on. I don't know if there's actually an angle where you can see anything, given my lighting choices. There we go, maybe. They're basically the same. Actually, I can no longer tell which is which, if I'm being honest. I could, if I investigated a little, I probably could, because the one with the active twist is obviously going to be the one I just did. But yeah, they look identical. Oh, that's so horrifically bright. Hang on. Okay. Yeah. Well, that was fast. 2.5-ish hours. Not terrible. For a full bobbin, like I'll take it. That's about how long the other one took me too, actually. I guess I thought I'd be faster, but I was not. But that's okay. So we're gonna do at least one more puni, and we might end it there probably because I'm getting a little tired. Your problem child wheel has a really messed up tension system. You can and have spun on her lots, but it's a constant fight. It's so temperamental. Ah, that sounds really annoying. That's the kind of problem I have with my e-spinner, is constant take-up issues, and it just kind of like it pulls me out of it all the time. You know, it pulls me out of like the sort of meditative spinning state, trying to fix these stupid fucking tension issues. So that sounds really frustrating. I will say I don't tend to have tension issues on this wheel. There are situations where I do, but for my everyday stuff, at least, tension isn't too bad. Out of curiosity, have you tried multiple different types of tension? Like, have you tried double drive and single drive tension, if possible? I know some wheels are set up for both. I think I technically could do both on my wheel, but I'm set in my ways. I learned on single drive, I think is what I have, and I don't want to change it. Although I imagine you've probably already tried basically everything to make it work, and at this point it just is what it is, I'm guessing. Yeah, we're just gonna get it attached and going, and that way, when I come back to it, hopefully tomorrow. I mean, I can never promise, but I hope tomorrow. Um, when I come back to it, we'll be good to go. There we go. Whoa. Sorry. I don't know if you guys heard that incredibly alarming noise from my wheel. I don't know what it was. I've never heard that before. I guess I don't usually like spin the wheel that fucking fast, but oh my gosh, scared me. I just want to make a leader. Okay, that ought to be good enough to attach. I also suppose at this point the visuals are probably getting pretty rough, given that when I started it was still light out, and it's definitely not light out anymore. Oh, you have two wheels. That's cool. I guess I also technically have two wheels, although I feel like my e-spinner and my treadle wheel are in different categories, so I tend to say I have an e-spinner and I have a treadle wheel, and they're just sort of separate entities to me. Um, both of your wheels are both only double drive, and yeah, it just is what it is. Yeah, double drive seems hard. I say that having never ever tried it and not knowing a lot about it, but from what I do know, it looks just so much more confusing in every way. and I'm scared to try it for that reason. Tension way too high. Yeah, I think the tension is one of the few things that I actually really enjoy about this wheel. But to be honest, I think that's simply because it's single drive. Um, it's so easy to fine tune, and like it has limits for sure. You can't just do whatever you want and have it work. Oh, was I spinning the wrong way this whole time? I don't know. Anyway, like there are limits to it, and I did find that when I was trying to thick spin flax, not just thick spin flax, but thick and wet spin flax, which I don't ever recommend doing under any circumstances for any reason. When I tried to do that on this wheel, it was so bad. It was so horrible. It really didn't work at all. But other than stupid ass ideas like that, which nobody should attempt on any wheel anyway, other than that, the tension is kind of the one thing that works. But yeah, like I said, I'm pretty sure that's just because it's a modern, or because it's a single drive, not because it's a modern wheel. And certainly not because it's a fucking Kromsky. The only Kromsky thing that I like is my Nitty Naughty, and that's just because you really can't fuck up a Nitty Naughty. You know? Wow, I can't believe we spun that whole bobbin. That's crazy. In one sitting too. I didn't even get up that whole time. That's awesome. I'm very pleased with myself on that. So that means that theoretically I could get one. I don't really know what to call it because it won't be one big skein, but I guess like I can get 2 plying in 4 days. If I like 4 days of streaming and working on this consistently, I could probably do like day 1 be spinning for the first bit, and then day 4 be plying it all. Which is really so much faster than I thought. I thought it was going to be multiple days per bobbin, because that's, it was multiple days for the first bobbin. But all of that said, though, I don't necessarily have the energy to do this very often, and I probably won't. Wow. My shoulder just started hurting super bad. Wow. A little bit more Tiger Balm. That's a crazy amount of pain. The very rare, times like this are the very rare times when I'm like, wow, I wish I had a partner. So somebody could apply this to my back. But then it's like, I don't want a partner for literally anything else at all. So that feels a little disingenuous, to have a partner and then, not be able to do any of the romantic or otherwise things that partners do. So I will probably just remain single and not be able to reach my back. That's fine. I would say it's even preferable. You did hear it. You were worried it was Chuck. It sounded distinctly Chuckovian, but thankfully, no, it was just my wheel. My wheel is named Garyon, by the way, after the ancient mythological figure who I am very attached to. You've never tried double drive either? I mean, I guess it's one of those things where, like, unless you specifically have a wheel that is set up to be able to do both, or you have one of each kind of wheel, you're only gonna ever have tried one. And yeah, I don't see myself ever trying double drive, just because I already understand single drive, kind of. So I I don't want to add to the confusion. Double drive isn't so bad. The tension is really sensitive, a blessing and a curse. Fair. But I mean, like, my single drive tension is really sensitive too. It's not overly sensitive, I would say, but you can make really good fine tune adjustments. Like, I'm really happy with the amount of sensitivity that it has, and that is one of the very few things about this wheel that I think is really quite good. So maybe it is just this wheel, to be fair. I don't know. You've barely used Irish tension. So Irish tension is double drive? I don't remember which one is which, if I'm being honest. You've tested a Lewitt wheel, which you think is Irish tension, and thought it was unresponsive. Interesting. I think that single drive tension can feel unresponsive initially, and then once you learn it, it's actually very responsive. That was my experience with learning it anyway. I had a really hard time figuring out what the fuck was going on until I did, and then once I did, it was like it's quite consistent. It's quite simple. Um, but I don't know. You really like Kromsky stick shuttles, but that's their weaving. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think like a spinning wheel is just such a different beast from almost any other kind of piece of equipment, except for like looms. But it's just so complicated that if you don't care, it really shows. And I feel like a Kromsky loom, I wouldn't buy one of these either. But then a stick shuttle, well, it's a stick with holes cut into it. You know, it is a little hard to fuck those up to make them unusable. It's easy to make them bad, but it's hard to make them unusable. I don't know. Well, I think I should cut myself off before this becomes a problem. But let's see. To recap, we've done 2 entire bobbins already, and I made 32 punis yesterday. To spin today, we have 8 remaining. So we actually only spun 24. That's crazy. That really doesn't seem right to me, but that's how much we spun. In the morning, or at some point tonight, maybe, but probably in the morning. I'm gonna weigh them and see if there's a discrepancy. I mean, we could always add a little bit more to one of these. But also, going on weight for bobbins doesn't make a whole lot of sense because it's not about weight, it's about yardage, right? So I don't know. We'll have to see. Thanks for the stream. Congrats on the productivity. Thank you. I do feel incredibly productive, which is nice because I did not feel that way at work at all today. So to be able to come home and feel like I actually did something useful and good is nice. Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna head out before Chuck casts herself into a deep depression because apparently she needs cuddles so bad. She says cuddles and attention so bad immediately. So yeah, I will give her cuddles and attention, and go to bed. But thank you both for hanging out, especially Ciara, you were here for like so long. I really appreciate it. It's been super fun as always. I really love our streams. Um, Hopefully, I will be streaming tomorrow at the usual time. We'll have to see. It always depends, you know. But I'll try. See what we can do. I guess there's going to be a ton of like some more puni making afterwards because obviously we're almost out again. But yeah. Oh, Scotch tension. That's the other one. I couldn't remember. Scotch tension has the spring and the string. Irish tension usually has a leather band on the flyer. What if you have a leather band on the flyer and you have a string and a spring? Because I have both of those. I will have to look into that at a time that is not quite so late at night. I know you're probably still several minutes behind because of your internet, Ciara, but yeah, I think we're gonna end it here. Thank you for watching. I had a great night as always. And yeah, I will catch you another time. Chuck also says good night. She says good night, like in a threatening way, like if I don't turn it off soon, it's not gonna be a good night. So I'm gonna go. Yeah. Thanks for hanging out. Good night.